I should have never been on trial. The gossipers, the whisperers, they're the ones who should have been on trial. Everywhere I went, at Jerry B's place on the square, at the dance at the Brown Hotel, or simply on my pew at the First Methodist Church, they were there. They're the ones who made me pull the trigger. Finally, I have the chance to tell someone my story. You see, I met Jesse Crockett Barnes on a dusty street in western Oklahoma in 1907. He was venturing in land in the big pasture area of western Oklahoma, where 3 of his grown children were homesteading. Dorcas Montgomery Barnes was Jesse's first wife. Poor thing died giving birth. Even though he was 15 years my senior, a purveyor of spirits, and a true Southern Democrat who believed that women should be seen and not heard, I was swept off my feet by the powerful presence that he possessed. Now, Jess was a true gentleman, a skilled businessman, and an entrepreneur. Even though I was the mother of 3 small children, a teetotaling Methodist, and a Northern Republican who believed that my voice should always be heard, he was swept off his feet by my fire. Oh, and Jess was always drawn to the fire. We married, and he moved us back to Tennessee to his Buffalo Valley farm. Life in the country was peaceful, and before the year had passed, our daughter Jessie was born. Despite our frequent quarreling, it took me years to get him to sell that distillery in Double Springs and give up his saloon in Nashville. He believed it was his entitlement as a gentleman, and he continued to make his weekly trips to Nashville, often returning on the evening shopper train. Shortly after we moved to Tennessee, the whisperers appeared. They whispered about that woman. They whispered, and they thought I couldn't hear. Oh, but I did hear them. Death was coming to me slowly. I thought about ending it all with my Colt 25 pistol, but then I decided I'd try just a little target practice instead. I practiced shooting every day. Jess asked me why, and I just told him, "Why, there's a weasel trying to get at my chickens, and I refuse to let something that belongs to me be destroyed by a weasel." Then one day, a letter arrived. It was postmarked Double Springs, and the writing on the front was unrecognizable to me. It was a letter from that woman. Now, what would you do if you got a letter like this? "Jess loves me and not you. I'm with him now in Nashville, and will ride the shopper train back with him on Friday. When we get home, Jess will tell you goodbye, and I will tell my husband the same thing." Well, I met the shopper train on that Friday. I boarded the train, and I searched every car until I got to the very last one. And there she sat. She should have been ashamed of herself, the wife of the kindly Buffalo Valley ticket master and the mother of 4 children. Oh, the whisperers made me pull the trigger. A flyer at the station announced Decoration Day, May 31st, 1912. That's all I remember, except walking off the train with my Colt 25 in my pocket. The Putnam County Herald reported that every shot took effect and she was killed instantly. Sheriff A.L. Weeks overtook Mrs. Barnes just after she exited the train, and he arrested her, and she quietly gave him the pistol. The cause of the shooting was alleged intimacy between Mr. Barnes and the deceased. The sheriff accompanied Mrs. Barnes home, and during the night she broke down from the nervous strain and was not able to come to Cookeville until Monday, where her bond was set at $50,000 for murder in the first degree. My. I owe my life to my lawyer, O.K. Holliday. I entered a not guilty plea on September the 24th, 1912. My trial began the following January. I was 36 years old and 5 months showing with child. O.K. Holliday did not attack that woman, but instead he attacked my husband. He told the all-male jury that prior to our marriage, I had been a woman of culture and contentment, and that after the marriage, the illicit relationship with that woman had caused me to lose my power of reasonable thinking. He charged to them that my life was made a hell on earth, and by killing that woman, I expressed my satisfaction and relief. He then said, "Gentlemen of the jury, this is evidence enough to find Myrtle Hurst Barnes not guilty by a defense of insanity." And that's exactly what they did. Jess and I never spoke of that mess after we moved into the grand house in Cookeville on what is now Broad and Willow. Our son, Frank Hurst Barnes, was born exactly 3 months from the day that I received my acquittal. But my story doesn't end there. Slowly, I became a pillar in the community, and I could see great respect in the eyes of the women who had suffered under the gentleman's rule in the South. I used my voice to express my political beliefs. I worked hard to ensure a woman's right to vote. I was appointed and elected to many state and local Republican committees, one of which helped put Warren G. Harding in the White House. I added to our holdings by grading coal and managing business property. Did you know that I was the first woman embalmer in the state of Tennessee? I spent my last 12 years after Jessie died surrounded by my family and many of my dear friends like Mrs. Putty Overall and Mrs. Hubert Crawford. Even after my death, my last will and testament reflected my strength and independence. When my will was read, my voice declared from beyond the grave in regards to my possessions, most of which I bought and paid for myself. Thank you for listening to my story. Believe it or not, it's all true.